You've seen some debates in your time. How does this one stack up?
It was one for the ages, and probably we'll see what the next two bring. But look, Trump did exactly at some level what I thought he would do, and that is, Donald Trump does not debate. Number one, right? Donald Trump comes up to dominate 90 minutes of television, and he did that. And you may not like the way he did it, or you may like the way he did it, but don't think for a moment he came to have a conventional debate in the sense that historians and scholars like myself perhaps have gotten used to over time. In particular, Donald Trump, an incumbent president, trailing badly and starting to run out of campaign runway to turn this around. What do you think a politician like Donald Trump is going to do under those circumstances? He is going to come at Joe Biden like a freight train, straight out of the blocks. And norms about conversational turn-taking or presidential decorum and generosity of spirit, no, we're down to 40 days or so until he is facing potentially a political humiliation. And so you know, it wasn't perhaps the most dignified thing you associate with the American presidency, but to be blunt, I was not at all surprised.
I actually found it very compelling, the entire debate. I don't know if I'm wrong for thinking that, but as Paul Kelly pointed out in The Australian, he suggested the way the debate went really does show and signify where America is at right now. Agree
for the main with that. I think there's where America is at right now, I think there's a very Trump-specific component to that. Yes, America is divided and would be divided if we had another Republican president and another Democratic challenger. Yes, America is struggling with coronavirus and all the rest of it, but there is a very unique Donald Trump-specific element to this, that mode of just coming at your opponent like that and being such a television performer from all his, 30, 40 years Donald Trump has been in the national spotlight, all that reality TV, the last 3 or 4 years that he's treated us to in his time as president. He dominates the camera, and that has been the case since he first burst onto the political stage. The way he just blew all those Republican challengers out of the way to get the nomination in 2016. Again, you put it up against the polls, but it does reveal to you the way he intends, the way he governs, right? It's an extension of his personality, and that personality was in full display in that debate. And there's an element of winging it, there's an element of improvisation, there's an element of tradition be damned, and that is Trump's governing style, and it was reflected in his so-called debate style. I hesitate to call it a debate style, but in what he treated us to last night.
I just want to ask you about the Proud Boys, Simon. This was something that was brought up by Donald Trump when the quote was something along the lines of, stand up, stand by. A lot of people are finding that particular quote as kind of like a call to arms. Who are the Proud Boys for the people who don't know, and what do you make of that?
They're a right-wing group largely based in the Pacific Northwest. They are, perhaps they're a little bit like Fight Club, but with a dedicated political agenda. Trump today is saying he'd never heard of them. That didn't stop, it was Biden that said, what about the Proud Boys? That's when Trump sort of dropped that line that's getting so much play in the aftermath. It was the question that came before it. Will you denounce white supremacy? And then Trump goes, who do you want me to denounce?
Well, he didn't denounce. He didn't denounce anyone.
And that's the point, right? And that's the point, right? And the most we got was a group. When a specific group was raised, he said the magic lines that now that group has embraced as part of their social media marketing campaign, and literally 30 minutes later. And today, some of the blowback from Republicans, from Mitch McConnell all the way on through, when the opportunity comes up, when you are presented with that question, there is only one answer in contemporary America. We denounce white supremacy is what Trump's Republican colleagues are calling for and urging him to do. And today, on the South Lawn of the White House, Trump is saying he actually doesn't really know who the group is. That didn't stop him repeating their name and referencing them in the debate. Again, an insight into the heat of the moment improvisational style we get from Donald Trump.
Well, I mean, very rarely do these debates change the course of an election.
That's right.
We all know that 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton, she won the debates, and of course we know what happened there. So regardless of that, how does this, if at all, change the campaigning for the two candidates over the next, 34 or so days?
Yeah, so Peter, great question, because you come into this debate if you're Donald Trump, and if you put your hard-headed number cruncher pollster campaign advisor hat on, you go, here's a guy that's trailing in swing states. Here's a guy who hasn't been able to break out of a 40% roughly approval rating, needs to bring either Republicans that are disaffected with him, who have parked their vote with Biden, bring them back, or the few undecided voters that are left in the American electorate. You've got to bring them back to him, over to him, away from thinking about Biden. Did that performance do that? Key demographic groups, like who has left you since 2016? Well, your support among women has softened up. Your support among college-educated suburbanites has softened up.
In the suburbs.
Yeah. So how does that performance, while it's great for, I think, people who are already with you, I'm not sure, in the moment at least, it helps you with that political job of getting back Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. I mean, this rev up the base strategy, I just wonder how much is left in the reservoir there of votes versus the counter-mobilization it has on the other side, and that is so many Democrats voted in 2018 midterms and are lining up to vote in 2020 because they're so determined, so outraged by those performances. So it's sort of laws of political physics here. There's a little bit of an equal and opposite reaction, perhaps even more so on the other side. And I think Trump is yet to figure out how to grow that support base beyond the coalition that voted for him in 2016. And also just those approval numbers that have been stubbornly in the low 40s at best for most of his presidency.